Today I'm going to show you how you can use Atlassian JIRA to write user stories for your product backlog. JIRA is one of the major tools available for product teams today, where you can plan your project, plan your sprints, plan your user stories, features, and report the progress of the work inside the team and outside the team for your stakeholders and customers. So JIRA also supports agile ways of working, makes the work transparent for all team members and stakeholders in your organization. I'm Hannu Törmänen, your product team coach. Okay, let's delve into JIRA and write some user stories there. Okay, let me just first say that this video is not sponsored by Atlassian in any way. So this is only my own interest of the product of JIRA software, and I could do this same kind of tutorial with, for instance, Microsoft Azure DevOps. JIRA is widely used, so I use that for demonstration purposes. All right, so here we are at Atlassian.com, and in order to go to JIRA, of course, you need to have a JIRA account. I have already my account settled, so I can go straight to JIRA. And let's see how we come up with. I'll sign in. Okay, and I'll from this JIRA Atlas kind of a dashboard go to JIRA software. I'll just create a new project this time. Create project, and from the left I'll select software development, because I'm trying to make an app for the airline, so this is what I use. And you can see here I have several options. I have a Kanban option, a Scrum project, some top level planning, which is a premium feature, but anyway, by the way, I'm using this free version of JIRA in today's tutorial. So if you are interested on the premium features of JIRA, the paid version, you can go for that. Of course, if your organization already has JIRA, but if you are just starting out, like in a new team, or you have a team less than 10 people, then you can start using this free version right away. Just create accounts and you are good to go. So as you can see, there are other options as well, like product discovery. Maybe I'll make another video about that, because that seems to be a very interesting product in JIRA, and some bug tracking project you can set up as well. But for today's purposes, I will create a Kanban project, and I'll use just a template here. I use this template. You can see what's in there, and my project will be team managed, so I have this free account only, so I can set up that one for my project. So I'll select a team and manage project. Okay, I'll create a name, airline tutorial app. So I can select a key for myself, like a 3-letter prefix that will be used in front of any backlog item that I'll create for this project. Here it is kind of given by JIRA itself. So ATA is the one that is being used or suggested by JIRA, but you can change it forever, whatever you want. I'll be happy with this ATA, and the template I will use is JIRA, Kanban, and team managed, as I previously selected. Press next. and it will create my project. So here we are. It's the kind of a front page of my project, and you can see I have 3 columns here by default: to do, in progress, done. And if I go to the left hand side, let me check if I can find, okay, I need to press this expand button there, so I get this view on the left hand side panel. I go to project settings, and here you can fill in some more details if you want, but anyway, the one thing that is very important if you are going to create user stories for this Kanban, and we'll go to this issue types setting for the project, you can see that, all right, the issue types that are by default in this Kanban project are epic, task, and subtask. So I would like to use backlog item type story in this case when I create user stories for the project. And I can find it here. It's not by default visible, so you have to really choose it from here. You can also select a bug, but that's not the topic of the video today. So I'll add a story to the issue type list. And you can see that, okay, this is also the hierarchy which is presented here. So topmost issue type is epic, then you have stories and tasks, and under the stories and tasks you can create subtasks. Okay, so basically I can start creating stories from this view as well. Actually I can't. So it seems that I can't really start creating stories from here, but what I can do is I can add some custom fields for the story issue type. And you can see it in the right hand side. You can see that, okay, JIRA offers a number of field types which you can use for your issues. And for this demo purposes here, I can create some of the more important issue type fields that I find it is good to have in a story. So I'll let's check what we have here. By default, we have a summary, which basically tells in a nutshell what this user story is about, and then some kind of description. And you have some context fields here below, like an assignee. You can assign labels. You can assign a parent, which is probably an epic. I'm not sure, but it seems that it could be an epic. And you can choose here what kind of order you will have when you see the story in a first view. Then you can see what kind of order you can select. That, okay, I can move this to the bottom, for instance, and you can see that, okay, the parent now is in the bottom of that context fields part of the story. And finally, you have some kind of reporter here who is really creating this story. I can use myself, for instance, for that. Okay, but I'm not really happy with that. So what is really required for a good user story is acceptance criteria, definition of done, and if you use the invest criteria, which I truly recommend for discussion purposes in your team when you are discussing through these user stories, what you have and what you create, then it's good to have at least these 3 additional fields. And JIRA makes it quite easy to do that. So for instance, I can add here a short text or paragraph for my acceptance criteria. So I will click paragraph and add a new name here. So I'll add acceptance criteria, and how people should use this field. They should mandatory field for user stories. So you get all the goodies of the user story. So you will have acceptance criteria highlighted in your JIRA issue for user stories and stories, and this is we can create this as mandatory. And yeah, let's say that this is required always, and you cannot really escape without filling in the acceptance criteria. You can put some default text there as well. Okay, I will save that change, and you can see that okay, now it's added to the description fields part of the story issue type. Okay, next I would like to add a definition of done. So that's a kind of a bit controversial if you want to have it here in your JIRA story issue type or not, because definition of done is something that this is for the organization. So basically you should have a generic rule what you want to express with the definition of done. I'll add another one. Definition of done. So if our common definition done is not sufficient for the story, then you can add some new descriptions there. I'll try to save it again. Okay, here it is, and I can really change the order here if I want to move it down, or even move it more down like that. So one thing that I could add once more is this invest criteria. So if you remember invest criteria, it is kind of a litmus test for users or user story that really tells that okay, you have discussed in your team all the good stuff that is required for the user story. It's independent, negotiable, valuable, estimable, small or suitable, and testable user story. So I will add another field for that. So I will use text checkbox for that. So let's add invest criteria here, and we can check that okay, we have used this invest criteria when we have discussed our user story to the detailed level, so we understand what is going on in that user story. So I can add here so the criteria of user story. So independent, add another option, negotiable, valuable, and then estimable. You can estimate the user story, is it big or small, and then you can add small, or you can use suitable, for instance, if you are we are not using sprints in this project, we are using Kanban. Okay, maybe then we can use small in that case. So we would like to have our user stories small. Let me just add another still testable as a last criteria for this invest criteria part. Okay, and I'll require this one that needs to be checked always when you are creating a new user story. So I will change that as well. Okay, and I'll move this to bottom of this description fields part of the story. Okay, maybe I could add this description to top here, and I will have my description fields now settled. I'm happy with this. We have this acceptance criteria, definition of done, and invest criteria settled here as well. And now we are ready with configuration of the story issue type. Okay, now we are ready to create our first story in this project, airline tutorial app, and I will press create here in the bottom. I want to create a story, so now we should have all this stuff here filled in, and it will move this story to this to-do column in my Kanban project, and you can see it has all the texts or the fields in place what we configured last time, and you can see that it is marked as mandatory field to fill in. So I will create a one like as a frequent flyer. I want to see my bonus points when I have logged or signed in to the app, so I can see if I can use them in my next flight. All right, so that was the kind of a summary for this, and request, and I can add here some kind of a more description how you want to see this in your window. For instance, you can you want to see them by separate request, or does it kind of show that immediately you can display my bonus points when I have signed in to the app. So you can see your bonus points right there with your profile, next to your profile or whatever. You can leave it up to the designer to come up with some suggestions, for instance. All right. Okay, let's add some acceptance criteria for this. Just for demo purposes, the bonus points are visible on the right side of my web app, and then Okay, that's pretty much it. So the definition of done could be just use the regular company DOD, and you can add an URL for instance for this. And then when you have discussed this user story in your team, you can check that, okay, does it really fulfill your invest criteria? Is it independent, negotiable? Or, for instance, can you show the bonus points somewhere in your profile as well, or whatever? So you can check this checkbox when you have discussed all the necessary details that you, as a team, you understand what the really the meaning of the user story is. And the best thing is that you can check everything here. Of course, if you feel that, okay, for instance, it is hard to estimate, for instance, then you can leave this blank, for instance, and just to see that, all right, we have discussed it, but we cannot really estimate. We see it is valuable, independent, and so forth. But anyway, that's how you could do it. And then you can just press create, and you can have your user story there created, and it's visible in the to-do column. So basically, when you then check this, you can see all the necessary fields in here. You can add child issues like a task or subtask, like design. 2 options to see bonus points. That could be one task, and so forth. So you can add something else as well. But basically, that's it. How you can work with user stories. Important thing is that you can add some custom fields to your user story. This is very flexible system to my understanding, and it's quite easy to use, and you can really configure any issue type in your JIRA project to your liking. So it's quite flexible, and I was kind of surprised to see that, okay, this is very good actually. So you can customize your issue types even in the free version quite nicely. Okay, this was just a short demonstration about JIRA, how it can support writing user stories for your product backlog. As you may have seen, the free version is already quite capable, has some nice tailoring capabilities, and you can, of course, try to tailor workflows and ways of working to the best suitable manner. But anyway, I was quite surprised that it has such a good capabilities already in the free version. Of course, it's limited up to 10 people, and if you have more teams, then you might need to upgrade to this paid version. I hope this video was useful, and I'll see you in the next video.